Okay, here we go.
Hi everyone. Hi
Hey
Lindsay.
guys,
Hi Vivek. How are you?
doing good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm on. This is my 5th week of being at home. Actually, I was already literally working from home since January because my desk was eliminated from the lab. So they took my desk out and put a stereo microscope in. So I've been used to working from home since then. The rest of the company, we went on work from home about 2 weeks before the rest of LA had to, from the mayor.
Wow, smart.
So,
Yeah. No,
And I,
to be honest, I feel like we kind of did it a little bit late, but I mean, not late to the point where it was like a danger, thankfully. But yeah.
well, it's a big shift. I mean, I worked in software for a long time and we worked virtually. So I feel like it's been, it isn't an easy shift. It's not tremendously out of our realms, but it's definitely a shift to get everybody acclimated and come onto a platform. Um, and it's nice to check in with everybody. I feel like, it's a nice way of saying, are you on the brink of insanity yet this week? How are you doing? We're all on the brink of insanity, but how are you doing?
It's been a minute for me. I was relocated to Albuquerque from Atlanta the week that everything like the outbreak happened, and just a little bit about my background at HP. I interface with all the manufacturers across the country. So my specialty is helping businesses that are in manufacturing and helping them grow their business, and especially ones that have MJF. So we do various marketing efforts and stuff like that. So fast forward to the time of the pandemic, the light bulb literally like flicked on in my head that there's supply chain issues and we need to like coalesce all these manufacturers. So I jumped out in front and just did what I could in my functionality with what I do to try and get them together. Because I saw an opportunity here for us to kind of everybody to kind of work together. And I'll tell you this, like even in this effort, we haven't left any stone unturned in terms of like even being open to collaborating with competitors too. So because this is bigger than one technology being better than the other or vice versa. It's really like there's applications that certain technologies can fit that MJF might not be able to fit. And if we can kind of find a common ground where we could hit one application together, I mean, we've kind of looked at it from that perspective as well. So it's really been inspiring to see all these different entities within the industry kind of come in together and just running towards the fire, so to speak. It really says a lot about the additive manufacturing community in general. We are people that want to help other people and make a difference. And that's something that really resonates with my heart, because it's very important for me to do impactful work that actually makes a difference in people's lives. And I pinch myself every day just because I get to work in this industry. Like it's truly an honor and privilege for me.
Nice.
yeah.
So take us back to that. Those first couple weeks, you're moving from Atlanta. You're moving, you're here, the pandemic strikes in. What were some of the first ideas? How did you go about putting together an initiative for HP to help with the pandemic?
Well, I don't want to take all the credit for it because I mean, there's so many pieces of the puzzle
Sure.
that are involved in this, and especially higher than me too, that were already on top of this. And when they started seeing my efforts on social, and then they started seeing what I was doing, interfacing with the different manufacturers, then they brought me into the fold at a higher level, and I was interfacing with a lot of like high-level execs at HP that were involved in this effort. So it just kind of organically happened, so to speak. It was just kind of, I think we all on the team kind of the light bulb proverbially like clicked on for all of us. And then I think there was a lot more cohesion in the European team because they were dealing with the crisis, a more mature crisis than what we were in the United States, right? And so they had their own applications that they've kind of validated in Europe. But in the US, we've kind of been, kind of piecemealing. And then starting last week, everything just kind of came together, and we just started announcing a lot of stuff too. So.
Yeah, and I want to say that your feed was really instrumental, because like I saw that you were doing this and contacting people and linking them together, and I was like, oh my god, this is so amazing, look at what's happening. And then for metallics people like us, you know, everyone's been saying, oh, I feel so bad, I can't do anything, I don't have the right kind of printer. But actually they should not feel bad, because the worst thing you can do is to try to get involved and do something that you actually can't do, or promise people that you can do things when you can't do them. And then you just make everything worse and slow things down for people, or get people confused. And so that is actually, you know, one thing that metallics people can do is wash your hands, do social isolating, follow the rules, and not like interject and make things worse for people, because you'll be duplicating work.
I'll be honest though, I think the metallics community has been very, you know, they've kind of stepped back, you know, and I see that, right? And there might be applications for metallics, you know, internal components and stuff like that. Who knows? But for me, I haven't seen a lot of noise coming from the metallics. I see a lot of plastics people, maker guys, like off the street, you know, and it's good that they want to help, but I think they complicate, like to your point, there's a lot of people out there that are creating a lot of noise in this vacuum. And for me, I majored in public health for my bachelor's. And so public safety is a very important topic for me, because I mean, you could have a MakerBot and you could print anything off of that, but is that really going to help? And is that going to help, or is that going to hurt people? And that's kind of the ethical sort of moral ambiguity that we're in right now, because we have the FDA and we have the NIH and we have these governing bodies that are kind of giving us the guidelines to follow. And as far as I know, nothing's been deregulated. And I've been admonished for some of the stuff that I said, because people think that, oh, well, you know, people need all this stuff. And it's like, yes, they do. But that's the catch-22 of the situation is there's millions of healthcare workers that are out there that need, you know, protective equipment, but at the same time, like, we can't meet all of that demand in a realistic way.
No, and also there needs to be a centralized way to funnel it to them, so that it gets to the right place in the right time. Because it's all very well, you know, a bunch of people saying, oh, I've printed 300 masks today, but what if none of them are usable? What if, like Lindsay said, they're not made out of medically safe resins, or they can't be cleaned, or bacteria
They can't be autoclaved or sterilized? Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's so many things that go, like specifically the N95 mask thing. That's the thing that really bugs me, is there's so many people out there that are building masks, but the thing is, like, are they compliant? Does it form a proper seal around your face? And that's the thing in N95. I didn't think I would learn so much about N95 masks until I started getting part of this initiative, and it's such a complex thing to manufacture. The pop-up just popped up, and I think there's a lot of like cowboy manufacturing that happens in this industry, and I don't mean to, you know, maybe bring in a political issue, but I think it's some male chauvinism in manufacturing to a certain degree. Oh, I know how to figure this out. I can figure this out, you know? And I think that attitude is what I see all over right now. And it's just like, are you really doing it because you want to help people, or are you doing it because you want attention? And that's the question that people need to really start to have as a conversation in the industry. Are we actually trying to help people, or are we actually just trying to get attention and then do harm to people accidentally, right? So
I think most additive professionals, even if you're not printing medical supplies as, you know, your primary function, understand, I mean, there are a lot of additive applications for medical supplies. And so we understand the components, even if we're not completely versed in, you know, what the requirements are. So I think it's been really helpful for the FDA to publish some guidelines for 3D printed medical parts like they have, and for organizations like America Makes to set up, you know, this website, right, where things are getting validated for use, because you're right. We don't all need to reinvent the face shield. And once we do get a face shield, it has to be deemed compliant and tested, and materials have to be spec'd for that. So I think a majority of it has, and I think it's interesting. I think what's great about it is that a lot of those PEG and a lot of these materials are available to the desktop community. So they can get their hands on medically compliant material in some cases, and I hope everyone is looking at that component. But I also feel like it's a catch-22, because had they not made the noise, would we have seen the FDA? I mean, I know that the FDA has already printed out their specs for 3D printed medical components, but had we not been looking at that, had we not been able to share that information if they weren't asking for it? So I hope that some of this, like the organization of it, like Eliana was talking about, does seem like it's starting to fall into place. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, additive manufacturing isn't just, a click and go of the 3D print. It's, there are more things involved, material specs, and
I think what gets lost is the science and engineering behind additive manufacturing. And yeah, I didn't mean to disparage the maker community, because they're a very important component of the industry, because they drive the enthusiasm, and it really started from there to a certain degree. So the additive industry needs to obviously be cognizant of the origins of where they came from, right? But I think where I was coming from was, and I think I'm losing my point now as I talk. I think where I was coming from was, I really don't know what I was going to say.
I think I know what both of you are saying. I mean, so for example, there was a briefing by America Makes last week in which they did all that. They connected all the dots. So here's the FDA, the NIH, and the VA. Here is the manufacturers. Here are the files. And then put them all together in a resource. The people at the hospitals, the clinic, and the frontline medical workers who are doing procurement for where those parts are, go into the system, find those parts and bring them out. And like you said, we don't need 10 more designs of face shields. The guy on the webinar actually said, we already have 10 different versions of face shields. We don't want any more, because it just creates more work to review new files and then go through that FDA approval process, and there's no point in doing that. And so now I think we've got to the point where, we can start seeing, instead of saying, I printed 1,000, I printed 10,000, like, get the parts to the people now. It's to get the people who need them, the actual, so it's the distribution now. So we've come to the first part, which is the blockage in the supply chain. Where are the parts? Who are making them? And now the parts are made. So now get them to the people who will use them. And I think American Makes portal is a great place for people to go, and also to realize that they don't need to keep duplicating work, because it's just holding everything up. It's like every day you see the report from Governor Cuomo and Governor Newsom and everybody saying, okay, here's where we are with beds. Here's where we are with ventilators. Here's where we are with all these masks and face shields. And like, those people need to coordinate, where are the parts? Because they are still being made by the traditional processes. They're not all just additive. They're not 100% of these masks are not all 3D printed,
Yeah. No, that's absolutely a fair point. No, I agree. But I mean, I guess what I was coming from was like, I still get people talking to me. Like even today, I had a salesperson from HP 2D side bring in a customer asking about printing, N95 masks. And then he showed me a link and everything. Every single component was 3D printed. And it's just like, we're trying to reinvent the wheel here. And there's so many other manufacturing processes that can complement additive. And I think we're not at a point right now where additive can replace other technologies. It can coexist as a production process, but it's not replacing like traditional forms. And I think that's where I was coming from. I think it's great to have the enthusiasm for additive, but I think people get carried away and they think, oh, I could just 3D print the entire thing. But let's talk about scalability of that, like, on a mass scale. Because I read an article about how the demand for masks for healthcare workers in the United States alone, it's in the billions. It's in the billions. Like, we can't scale that. You could take all the 3D printers in the entire country and it still wouldn't be able to hit that.
I would love to continue on a topic of mass production for additive, because I think it's so interesting and it has been for so much time. And I mean, you know, even just talking on subjects about not just printing one part, but the tooling, how additive can assist in ramping up tooling for some of these larger manufacturers. Right. And that is a way that we can absolutely expedite production.
And we're already doing that at HP. Like, what we're hitting is low to medium volume production, bridge tooling and stuff like that. So it's really exciting. If you asked me 5 years ago when I was working for 3D Systems before, oh, could you do production with additive? I would have laughed in your face. But I mean, a lot's changed. A lot has changed. So
before we run out of time, I was wondering if maybe you could talk to us a little bit more about the specific initiatives that you're working on HP, and what, you know, examples of success, and how the team at HP has kind of rallied to fulfill the needs that we were just talking about.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we talked about face shields, and we know that's overdone, but I mean, we worked on a really, really, really cool design with Avid Product Design, and they're one of our Avid Product Development. Doug Collins over in Colorado, Fort Collins, Colorado, one of our premier production partners. What they did was they designed all of the straps to be flat, and they could be folded out and like snap together, which is true DFAM like processing. Like, and so we're able to pack somewhere between like 290 and 300 of them in a build.
Nice.
And so when you take that to scale, like we have partners that have like 20 of our machines, you know, Forecast 3D has like 24 of our machines. So if you can pack, you know, 280 of those in each printer in one day, I mean, and you have multiple build carts for each machine, just think about the sheer amount. And we talk about additive manufacturing on a mass scale. This is an example of that. And it's just incredible. And we're also working on some nasopharyngeal swabs that are in the process of being validated. We have a few select partners that are FDA cleared to manufacture those, one of them being Smile Direct. And they have 50 to 60 of our machines. So, and we're able to pack somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 swabs in a build. So, wow. And you just think about that sheer scale of taking the same math across 50 machines. It's just incredible. And these sorts of things, I think, are going to be a hallmark for additive. I think this crisis will be a hallmark moment for additive in terms of the way we stepped up and we addressed some of the concerns. Like I said, we ran to the fire, and we're still running to the fire. There's still so much work to do, and I'm not ready to pat myself on the back or anything like that, because I mean, there's still so many people out there that are, you know, they don't have the things that they need, that are trying to do the things to help people out there, and there's we have no idea about this disease. We still have like very little information about it, and it's a very frightening situation.
So I will say that HP, thank you for hosting also a page where people can post their open source files, because one of the open source files that we looked at on the HP website was the no-touch door handle. You know, the thing you can open the door without using your fingers. And that, for people like us, where we're metallic people and we only have a itty bitty printer like this for polymers just to do bits and pieces, but that's something that we can make for ourselves. And then by doing that, we don't add to the strain on the system, because we limit the amount of the spread of the virus amongst ourselves by doing that. So that is actually a really fantastic idea.
So that was from our Asian counterparts on the Asian side, APJ. They also developed the mask adjuster straps. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. That holds the straps in the back of your head and prevents it from digging into the back of your ears. And that was a very thoughtful sort of application. In fact, one of our Spanish team members was telling us in an internal meeting that the Spanish masks tie behind your back, But once they ran out of those, they had the Asian mask that went behind your ears. And so the mask adjuster straps were actually really helpful in that respect. And they're printing them by the thousands, apparently.
And the no-touch door handle, people can make those for themselves at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen multiple versions of that. People putting topology optimization on it too. So it's really cool to see people taking it their own creative liberties with it. So that's good.
Well, that's so great. And yeah, just like maintaining the communication is kind of why we wanted to talk to you. And I know you've been really stressed and you've been doing so much stuff.
I'm sorry, I'm not presentable today too.
No, we just wanted to reach out to you and see how you were doing, because you're one of the most active people that I see in this space right now, and you seem like you're doing a lot of stuff. So
that's very flattering coming from you guys, honestly. Ellie, you're pretty active too, and I love the stuff that you post too. So coming from you, that means a lot. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm just really passionate about this field. I think we're really scratching the surface of its true potential, and I'm just, like I said, it's truly an honor and privilege to be a part of it, and just I'm ready to take the ride for where it goes. So
I'm sure we're going to hear more. We'll catch up again and we'll see how this develops. And I think there'll be a lot to learn and a lot of exciting things that we encounter over the next couple of months while we're staying safe and apart, right? Yeah. Which is our main priority.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, it's good to meet you. Good to talk to you.
It's good to meet you both too. Thank you. Yeah. Hopefully we meet in person at some point.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye. Thank you.